There's this pattern that I've noticed that allows people to transform things that would normally be shameful for them into something powerful. I call it shame alchemy, and we're going to break down the process of how it works today so that you can apply it to your own life. My name is Sean. I'm a mental health coach. I see 40 plus clients a week, and I have a 98% satisfaction score from over 1,600 ratings. So let me start with an example. There's an anime called Kakeguri, and it's about this school of gamblers, and the ranking of the school, your ranking in the school, is decided by how good of a gambler you are. And if you fall below a certain point, you are labeled what is called a house pet, which is supposed to be this really humiliating status amongst the school, and everyone makes fun of you. You have to wear like a chain around your neck with this little thing that says house pet. And so at one point, the main character, her name is Yumiko Jabami, she becomes a house pet, and the other students start to try to make fun of her. And instead of fighting it, what she ends up doing is she embraces it. She starts role playing as a little kitty cat and says, like, I want to gamble more. And it freaks all of the other kids out, and they run away from her. And so she took this experience that could have been very shameful and turns it into something powerful. We see this outside of anime too. A great example is the word slut, which originally was a word that was used to shame women for being sexually expressive. But over time, women have come to reclaim the word, where now they say it proudly, and it is a symbol of sexual agency, that you have power and autonomy over your sexuality. And this isn't a new tactic by any means. In the Revolutionary War, the British came up with this song to make fun of Americans called Yankee Doodle Dandy, and the Americans loved it. They thought it was hilarious. And so they started singing it and marching to it, and it became a source of pride for them. So this begs the question, how do you do that? How do you take something that is supposed to be shameful, painful, humiliating, and transform it into something powerful? That's what we're going to break down today in about 6 steps. Step 1 is to name the wound. In pretty much all of my work, step 1 is always awareness, because we can't gain control over something unless we have awareness of it, right? If you don't know that something exists, it is very hard to intentionally affect it. So first, we're going to start to name whatever it is that we are feeling shameful about. Maybe it's a label people call you, maybe it's a part of yourself that you've always tried to hide, or a fear that you're too much, or that you're a burden. And I want you to literally think in your head, oh, I feel X about Y. So for instance, oh, I feel ashamed for being too emotional. And every time it comes up, I want you to think that same thing. Every time you feel the shame come up, it's, oh, I feel ashamed about being too emotional, or whatever your personal example is. Step 2 is to understand the power game that is going on. Ask yourself, what is this label or experience trying to do to me? So for instance, if you feel like you're too much, maybe the reason for that is because people have always tried to shrink you down and make you more palatable so that they can be more comfortable. And that shame that you're feeling is not by accident. There is a power dynamic there. There is power play there. And once you're able to recognize it, you can start to reclaim it. So another example is, let's say that you feel ashamed about being broke. Maybe that's because you live in a society that equates wealth with value. And so the lower your bank account is, the less worth you have. And in starting to recognize that that game is being played, you can choose whether you want to play by its rules or not. Which leads perfectly into step 3, which is to reclaim the narrative. So ask yourself the question, what would happen if I chose this on purpose? Now, don't get me wrong, this is not about blaming yourself. It is about reclaiming the power. So for instance, if you feel ashamed about money, maybe if you chose that, why would you choose to be broke? And maybe the lesson is that it taught you resilience. Maybe it taught you how to be creative with your money and stretch a dollar to go longer, versus somebody who has always had money and never had to learn to deal with those sorts of situations. Or in the slut example, maybe it is a symbol of your autonomy, that you are able to make your own choices rather than having your sexuality dictated by societal standards. And this isn't just something that I've seen with my clients or in culture, it's something that I've experienced too. So for instance, when I was younger, I got called cute all the time and I hated it because I thought that I was supposed to be manly and handsome and tough. And it wasn't until later that my wife helped me to embrace my different form of masculinity. That rather than chasing the sort of stereotypical form of masculinity that never felt right to me anyway, instead I was able to embrace my sort of like soft boy side. And in doing so, it felt like freedom. It felt like coming home to myself. And I really think that that's what this process does, is it helps us get back in touch with ourselves rather than trying to become something that society wants us to be or that somebody else wants us to be, which is ultimately what shame does. It tries to sort of form us into some sort of mold. And so step 4 is repetition, or to say it with power. But here's the thing, this won't flip overnight. There's an expression in neuroscience that neurons that fire together wire together. You have had a lifetime of this negative association. And so it is going to take time to decouple those two things. And one of the best ways to do that is to run the neuron down a different pathway on purpose. So in the slut example, for instance, start using the word regularly in this new way. Wear the word slut like a crown. Or in the money example, maybe you commit to an experiment, like I'm going to take one financial risk per month, just as an example. And each time you take that action, what you're doing is you are purposefully running the neuron down a new pathway. It's sort of like walking through grass that there's no path in. If you walk down that grass enough, eventually it is going to create a path from you trampling the grass. Step 5 is to connect with community. You don't have to go on this journey alone. Ask yourself who else may have gone on this journey. There are entire communities dedicated to embracing the word slut, for instance, going on things like slut walks. Ask for support from people like friends, coaches, communities. You can explain these experiments or this new way that you're using this word to them and ask them to support you in it. And I'd love to help you take these first steps of reclaiming your power, going through this shame alchemy and starting to step into your power. So I'll leave a link down in the description where you can schedule a free 50-minute session with me. And then step 6 is to let it evolve or let it go. The great thing is that once you have reclaimed it and it no longer has any power over you, you get to choose what you want to do with it. So if you don't want to use a word or you don't want to act financially in whatever way, you don't have to. It is not about obligation. It is about agency. It is about you taking the power back. So just to summarize, the 6 steps are 1, name the wound, 2, understand the power game, 3, reclaim the narrative, 4, say it with power, 5, connect with community, and 6, let it evolve or let it go. And remember, this is a practice, not a one-time fix. I say that for 2 reasons. 1, as just a reminder that it's going to take time. You're going to have to practice this a lot in order to see the change that comes from it. And the second reason that I say it is that one of the coolest things that I experience when I work with people is that I provide people all sorts of different tools, like validation, for instance. And when I provide them those tools, they apply it to something specific. And then as we go through our work together, some other situation will come up and I'll point out that same tool. I'll be like, hey, remember validation? And they'll go, wait, hold on. I can use that tool here? And it's like, yeah. And so whenever you get a new tool in your Batman tool belt, one of the coolest parts is looking for opportunities where you can use it elsewhere in your life. So even once you process something with this sort of like shame alchemy framework that I'm laying out, then one of the coolest parts is then you can start looking for other things in your life that you can do that with too. So if you'd like to try out this shame alchemy thing, I would be honored to help you along the way. Like I said, I'll leave a link down in the description for a free 50-minute session. And the last thing is that if you like videos like this, where I sort of walk you through a tool This video goes over one of the biggest tools that I use, which is validation. It gives you sort of a whole crash course in how to use validation to get your logic and emotions on the same page with one another. Hope it helps, and I'll see you next time. Bye.